Everywhere, GBS.
A very good evening and thank you for joining GBS News at 9. My name is Stephen George and our sign language interpreter tonight is Paul Madenge. And now, to our first story. The Senate Majority Leader, Honorable Haron Cheriot, has sunk into deep fight of words with the Narok Governor Patrick Ole Ntutu after stating that he is initiating and launching the projects that he didn't participate in their construction. The lawmaker, who pointed out on Suswa and Ntulele markets, which according to him were built by Narok Town Member of Parliament Kennedy, as Davis Karani reports.
Kuna wengine wanakuja mpaka wanajishikilia kwa kazi ya Ken. Badala ya mtu kuongea kazi yake, anasema ati nimefanya hii, nimefanya hii.
These were the simple statements that Kericho County Senator Honorable Haron Cheriot made yesterday in Narok County after stating that Governor Patrick Ole Ntutu is boasting out with projects that he did not engage himself in their construction.
Wewe unaishana kazi yako bana, ile umefanya, wajana na kazi ya Ken. Katiba imegawa kazi. Kazi ya mjumbe ni ya national. Kazi ya governor ni kazi ya county. Sasa saa nyingine mimi nashangaa unapata ati mtu anakuja anasema ati amejenga soko. Unajenga soko gani bana? Wewe waje ukora ya mchana bana. Mimi ndio majority leader. Niliona barua yenye huyu Ken aliandika, ndio soko yenu ya Suswa na soko ya Ntulele ikakuja. Hiyo ni kazi ya Ken.
His statements could not land safely at Governor Ntutu, and instead the CG and his allies decided to counter and respond to the majority leader, warning him to keep off Narok County affairs.
Tunataka kumwambia senator ya kwamba kama uko na marafiki hapa county ya Narok, kuja na heshima. Ukitupa heshima, unajua heshima ni two ways. Ukiwa una heshima na gavana wa county ya Narok, basi wakaaji wa Narok watakataa wewe, kwa sababu ile mambo unakujanga hata kufanya hapo tunashindwa, unakuja kufanya nini na uko na kaunti yako.
Viongozi ambao wanaenda kwa kaunti ya viongozi wengine na siheshimu viongozi wa hiyo kaunti. Narok County rais wake ni Patrick Keturet Ole Ntutu.
How can it be that a whole majority leader of the Senate can dare call our governor Atieni Makanga? We don't want political tourists in our county.
The differences between the two leaders dates the country back to a drawing board on the specialization of the roles as specified in the Kenyan Constitution, which Odinga urged senators to champion for during his meeting with senators at the Senate chambers 1 week ago. Davis Karani for GBS News.
Youths in Bondo town have taken to streets protesting what they term as illegal grabbing of private property by Siaya County government. The demonstrators, led by Jack Maure, Lawrence Ochola and Mina Akoth, accused the county leadership of failing to follow the law in repossessing land earmarked for a new project. Now, the protest followed the recent demolition of second-hand clothes market in the heart of Bondo town to make way for the construction of a modern market. The land in question is claimed by several individuals, including Siaya Senator Dr. Oburu Odinga, who has since taken legal action to stop the county government from proceeding with the project. The youth have vowed to resist any development on the contested land until Governor Orengo consults and reaches an agreement with the concerned parties. While the situation remains unresolved, the youth are calling for dialogue and transparency to avoid further conflict and economic disruption in the area.
On top of that, we the people of Bondo, we stand by Dr. Oburu Odinga, and we are saying before any activities done on this parcel of land, nothing will be affected. No activity will be done here. Even whatever is there, let them go back. Let the governor consult Dr. Oburu so that they become in one unison so that it comes back. Otherwise, haitafanyika. And this time around tumeamua kujikakamua. Tumeamua kustand with Dr. Buru liwe liwalo.
Gavana wetu James Orengo aache madharau kutumia waandishi walio na njaa kutoka Ugunja na Ugenya kuharibu jina ya seneta wetu Dr. Buru Gingo Odinga katika Facebook na hizo platforms zingine social media. Achane na governor, achane na senator yetu kabisa, na kama anataka kujenga kitu kingine hapa Bondo lazima waongee na senator wetu na wakubaliane, si eti anakuja tu na kifua chake na anaanza kujenga. Hivyo tumekataa na tumesema hapana, haitawezekana.
Kama wewe unaweza kuja kutenganisha wamama wa Bondo kwa senator wetu Oburu Odinga. Sisi tunapenda Oburu sana na tunajua hii shamba yenye iko hapa ya wamama, mali wamama wanafanya biashara ya mtumba. Hii shamba ni ya Oburu Odinga. Na kama uko na maneno na Oburu Odinga, enda ukae na yeye chini, muongeleshe, mpate suluhisho ile inaweza leta usaidizi kwa hawa mama.
Hivi venye anatufanya hivi, anatupea tu dakika moja tushaambiwa tuko hapo kwa biashara. Wanatufukuza. Tutauza aje? Tutakula nini? Atatulishia watoto, atatulipia school fees. Ama ni sisi ndo tujibebe tukikuja kwake. Ama anataka hiyo one time tujue. Akitaka tuambie tu polepole, nyinyi wakaji wa Bondo nataka one time. Na tuone venye tunapelekana. Tujue tuna deal na nani, na akitaka kurudia tena afanye venye anaongea na sisi kama watu wa Bondo.
Moving on swiftly, Embu Governor Cecily Mbarire has fired a warning shot at unnamed officials within the United Democratic Alliance, UDA, and government circles, accusing them of plotting to undermine her authority. The governor, who doubles as the UDA national chair, said that she will not remain silent anymore as senior government officials work to destabilize her locally and within the ruling party's national leadership. Speaking on Sunday during Madaraka Day celebrations at Makima Primary School grounds in Beres South constituency, an irate governor threatened to disclose their identities if they continue with their plot.
She alleged that they have been holding secret meetings within the county to ostensibly plot for her political downfall, but declared she was ready to face them head-on. She stated that the move was a betrayal of her efforts to defend the government's reputation in the county amid growing discontent by residents. She also stated that while she is working to shield the government from criticism, some people are working behind the scenes to undo all that.
Mimi munajua mimi ni chairperson wa UDA party. Na kama kuna mtu amepigwa juu ya kusupport serikali ni mimi Karinda. Dipendwa kadira lakini tembira ngaia ikuo. Lakini nimeanza kuona kuna watu wameanza kunipangia njama na ni watu wako kwa serikali ile mimi napigania kila siku. Most officers from Nairobi who are coming to Embu to hold night meetings to fight elected leaders na wana heshima na wanajifanya wanaelewa siasa ya Embu kutuliko sisi. When we are working round the clock to fight for this government, tunaambia wakome. Wanajijua those officers. Na wakiendelea, I will mention them. Na niwaambie hivi, mimi ni wa before. Nimekuwa katika siasa miaka mingi. Msiniletee, otherwise I will talk.
Her remarks comes days after Deputy President Professor Kithure Kindiki made an unannounced visit to Embu town, where he met traders and residents over rising insecurity. The visit has fueled speculations of brewing tensions within the party's ranks, with the mounting discord threatening to hurt UDA's grassroots support in the county, as well as Mount Kenya East region.
Watukosee heshima. Timikutano ya usiku, mkipanga-panga huku, na mtaki kuambia Mheshimiwa Muriuki mko na watu mnachukua mbele South ati mkipanda, wengine mmechukua Runyenje, wengine mnachukua wapi, hamtuambii. Nyinyi ndio mmejua siasa kutuliko. Shetani ashindwe. Niramera kambi bika. Nyinyi officers tutajuana na tutangangana, na msifikirie mimi ni mtu wa kunichukulia hivi. I am a leader in my own right, and you will respect me and all the elected leaders in Embu County. Kama kuna shida, call us around the table. Let us discuss it. But do not disrespect us. Because if you disrespect us, we will disrespect you in return.
As the situation unfolds, it remains to be seen whether party leadership will adopt a reconciliatory tone or whether the brewing storm in the county will escalate further. Reporting for GBS News, I'm Harun Kikwa, Embu County.
In Baringo County, Speaker of the County Assembly, Vincent Kemboi, has sounded the alarm over alleged attempts to derail an ongoing investigation into employment malpractices. Speaking during Madaraka Day celebrations in Barisa, Kemboi revealed that members of an EDO committee probing the matter have received death threats, raising serious concerns about interference and intimidation. The probe, which also seeks to address the plight of casual workers, has drawn support from local leaders and residents alike. As call mounts for transparency and reform in the county's hiring process, meanwhile, County Commissioner Stephen Kutua has directed the DCI to take up the matter as pressure builds on authorities to ensure the safety of the investigative team. Here is more on the story.
Baringo County Assembly Speaker Vincent Kemboi has cautioned individuals who are attempting to interfere with ongoing investigation on employment malpractice within the county.
Tumekuwa na shida kubwa sana. Hao watu kumekuwa na fitina mingi. Fitina ni kuwa watu wanauza kazi. Ingine kuna watu wanaandika girlfriend kazi. Your Excellency, kama County Assembly tukaona waja tufuatilie maneno.
Kemboi made the call at the Barmwesa Primary School grounds during the county Madaraka Day celebration, where he lamented that a section of members of County Assembly from an ad hoc committee on public service, which was formed in May this year, have received death threats in 2 separate occasions.
Your Excellency, tukaanzisha ad hoc committee. Wakati tuliweza kuanzisha ad hoc committee, tukaona kuna ukora ile imeanzishwa tena. Na mimi naomba bwana County Commissioner, wale waheshimiwa wetu walipoenda Chemolingot walifahamiwa. Wakapika report, lakini mpaka saa hizi hakuna mtu ameitwa hata kuandikisha statement. Wakati tulikuwa tunaendelea Kabarnet kuhoji watu, mtu mmoja akaandika SMS kwa mheshimiwa, akaambia kama bibi yangu atafutwa kazi nitaenda na shingo yako. Your Excellency and County Commissioner, hiyo maneno ni maneno masito. Na langu ni kuomba kuwa kwa sababu wewe ni County Commissioner na wewe ni chair ya County Security Committee, na kuomba uamrishe mtu wa the County CCIO, County Criminal Investigation Officer, aite wale watu wakuja watuambie, ndio waambie mtu utajisha shingo unamaanisha nini.
His sentiments were backed by Karbatojo Ward MCA Simon Kiplagat, who stated that they want to streamline the employment system in Baringo to protect the many qualified youth who have been locked out of county jobs.
Kwenda kupewa kazi free and fair. Watu wanauziwa kazi. Yule msasi ana pesa, amemalizia school fees kwa masomo, atanunuaje kazi tena? So governor, wewe usikuwe na wasiwasi, wewe fanya kazi yako. Utupaje sisi kama assembly tupatie yetu. Kama ni county secretary ako na shida, ataenda nyumbani. Kama ni service board ndio walikuwa na shida, tutasafirisha hao wote. Lazima county ya Baringo iende vile inatakikana.
County Commissioner Stephen Kutua, in his remarks, instructed the DCI to follow up the matter of death threats while urging all those who are affected to launch a formal complaint with the police for prompt investigation.
Mheshimiwa Spika, nimesikia yale umesema na nimeambia DCI kama kuna complaint yote waende kwake na DCI ataweza kuishughulikia mara moja. DCI yako hapa, kwa hivyo atafuatilia ile maneno umesema.
Governor Benjamin Cheboi, who stayed away from the matter, called on all county leaders to conduct themselves with decorum and avoid engaging in dirty politics.
Viongozi tumekosa mwelekeo. Ukikuta kiongozi moja anamtusi kiongozi ingine, unaweza kufikiria nini watoto wataangalia? And we want to urge the leaders both at the national level desist from unnecessary abuse.
Susan Nganga, GBS News, Baringo County.
It is time for us to take a short break. Keep your feedback streaming into our social media platform at GBS TV Africa. The SMS line is 2114. We'll be right back.
Today, it's that day that I would like us just to have that conversation on monthly matters.
Let's talk of Mama Fua, who like akifanya shughuli zake hapa kule has more or less that amount.
Yeah, so on that part, I would say this. When you are doing your savings, you can have, we normally talk about having 3 buckets. So we will just talk about income, budgeting, saving, and investment. Those are the 4 areas we will look at.
What happens to those like me who are planning to retire early?
We are basically looking at our incomes. We also talk about savings and investment. So those are the 3. I will not add the 4th one, which we all shy of talking about. So I would say it's not how much I am earning, but it is how much I set aside. So
we are going to be talking about goal setting itself and building resilience. Goal setting and building resilience.
So hawezi sema nita set goal then someone else akuja kuwork on the goal. Hawezi sema uta set goal yenyewe mwenyewe huwezi reach. Hawezi sema uta set goal na mali una stand like huwezi reach ile goal umeset.
Just imagine I've promised someone that I will do something to them by the end of this year, and then surely I fail. What will happen? You know, they will say Steve has broken my heart.
Nimeset hata mimi goals, but ni realistic goals.
Unajua aje ni realistic?
Because najua I'm capable of, like, they're realistic. They're making sense. Sijasema nanunua V8 by the end of the year, but because I know inaweza kuwa impossible because mtu anaangalianga siku make tu unajua utaandika by December 31st nataka kuwa na iPhone 16 Pro.
It is insane to do the same thing and expect different results. Yeah, so definitely we need to see, like, if it is not working, what is in this system that is making this thing fail, and I'm expecting these results. How can I improve this project?
The goals that you set, maybe ukiona like maybe that can be affected by kitu huwezi avoid.
About self-competition. I'm only in competition with the person I see in the mirror, and that is me. So it is about my personal development.
It's not just a matter of writing and putting and now waiting, you know. we are going to be talking about goal setting itself and building resilience. Goal setting and building resilience.
So hawezi sema nita set goal then someone else akuja kuwork on the goal. Hawezi sema uta set goal yenyewe mwenyewe huwezi reach. Hawezi sema uta set goal na mali una stand like huwezi reach ile goal umeset.
Just imagine I've promised someone that I will do something to them by the end of this year, and then surely I fail. What will happen? You know, they will say Steve has broken my heart.
Nimeset hata mimi goals but ni realistic goals.
Unajua aje ni realistic?
Because najua I'm capable of like they're realistic. They are making sense. Sijasema nanunua V8 by the end of the year. But because I know inaweza kuwa impossible because mtu anaangalianga. Si kumake tu. Unajua utaandika by December 31st nataka kuwa na iPhone 16 Pro.
It is insane to do the same thing and expect different results. Yeah, so definitely we need to see like if it is not working, what is in this system that is making this thing fail and I'm expecting these results. How can I improve this project?
The goals that you set, maybe ukiona like maybe that can be affected by kitu huwezi avoid.
About self-competition. I'm only in competition with the person I see in the mirror, and that is me. So it is about my personal development.
It's not just a matter of writing and putting and now waiting, you know.
Everywhere, GBS.
Today, it's that day that I would like us just to have that conversation on monthly matters.
Let's talk of Mama Fua, who like akifanya shughuli zake hapa kule has more or less that amount.
Yeah, so on that part, I would say this. When you are doing your savings, you can have, we normally talk about having 3 buckets. So we will just talk about income, budgeting, saving, and investment. Those are the 4 areas we will look at.
Happens to those like me who are planning to retire early.
We are basically looking at our incomes. We also talk about savings and investment. So those are the 3. I will not add the 4th one, which we all shy of talking about. So I would say it's not how much I am earning, but it is how much I set aside. So today, it's that day that I would like us just to have that conversation on monthly matters.
Let's talk of Mama Fua, who like akifanya shughuli zake hapa kule has more or less that amount.
Yeah, so on that part, I would say this. When you are doing your savings, you can have, we normally talk about having 3 buckets. So we will just talk about income, budgeting, saving, and investment. Those are the 4 areas we will look at.
Happens to those like me who are planning to retire early.
We are basically looking at our incomes. We also talk about savings and investment. So those are the 3. I will not add the 4th one, which we all shy of talking about. So I would say it's not how much I am earning, but it is how much I set aside. So
Everywhere, GBS.
Well, and welcome back. Now, in our special interview segment tonight, we have Peter Asugo, Managing Director at Afrodoc Hair Transplant Center. Do stay with us for this segment. Welcome, Dr. Harry.
Thank you so much.
You can begin by, I'm doing great.
Yeah.
You can introduce yourself.
Yeah, my name is Peter Asugo. I'm a clinical trichologist, FUE expert, and African hair transplant specialist, and Managing Director at Afrodoc Hair Transplant Center here in Nairobi.
Right, let's go on it. What is the cause of hair loss?
Okay, so for the cause of hair loss, when you talk about hair loss, hair goes through cycles.
Right.
So there's stages of these cycles. There's anagen, telogen, and catagen.
Right.
So anything that disrupt disrupt this circle of hair will lead to hair loss. So when I talk of anagen, is the growth phase of hair. When I talk of telogen, is the resting phase of hair. When I talk of catagen, is now the falling stage of hair. So you see that everybody, you lose hair every day. You understand, like 50 to 100 hairs. But when it gets to around 3,000 hairs or more than that every day, then you end up having hair loss. You understand?
Is there a specific period? Is it after 15 years old or 20 or 30 that men are vulnerable to hair loss, or women?
So in aspect of causes of hair loss, you find that there's a androgenic aspect of hair loss. Then we also have androgenic, there's an hormone called testosterone.
Right.
It produces dihydrotestosterone hormone. So hormonal factor causes the androgenic aspect of hair loss. So you find that women has female pattern hair loss, men male pattern hair loss. So that's why you find men, they're losing hair on the, sometimes on the temples, sometimes on the frontal, and then on the crown. Female as well, female pattern hair loss on the sides and also on the frontal as well. So female pattern hair loss and male pattern hair loss caused by the androgenic hormone. And also we have traction alopecia. But the alopecia is a medical term for hair loss.
Right.
So that you find some people will ask, doctor, I'm having alopecia. Alopecia is a medical term for hair loss. So you also find there's traction alopecia. What is traction alopecia? Pull and push of hair. Use of chemicals, those will lead to dreads, too much tension on our scalp will lead to traction alopecia. Then you also have stress, and stress will lead to something called telogen effluvium. Because of stress issues, the cortisol levels will lead to, also when they get high, then you find that will lead to hair loss. And we also have nutritional deficiency. Let's say not enough iron. These are kind of will lead to hair loss as well. Then also one and other thing that may cause hair loss is about the medication. Let's say cancer medication. These other things may lead to hair loss.
Chemotherapy aspect of it.
Chemotherapy, yes.
Right. Is hair transplant, has it been accepted by the African society?
So hair transplant in terms of African society, and this is very, very interesting.
Right.
Because in terms of African society, we find that Africa, we are different. Our hair is magical. Our hair it curls from the science to the art part of it. So you see that African hair transplant, African management of hair loss in Africa, people go for hair transplant. But you see, the technique in terms of hair transplant in African people, it's totally different with other different kinds of hair. If you look at the structure of our hair very well, you see our hair, there's classes of hair,
right,
as I may tell you. There's type 1, type 2, type 3, type 4. And all these types have been classified deep down into A, B, and C.
Are those races like the Chinese,
Yes.
Asian, African?
Pretty much. So we find our African hair, we're on the 3rd and the 4th. So you find that our hair curls, and then our hair is coily as well. So that's why we talk of African hair being coily and being curly. So in terms of hair transplant, also we have to, the machines and everything that we have to use are tailored toward African hair. That's why you see people have gone to do transplant in many parts of the world, but they still don't get results because the technique and the approach that they may have done was not tailored toward African hair.
Right. Speaking about people traveling, Turkey has been an essential center for the world tourism in terms of medical tourism there. And seeing one of our own, a Kenyan doctor, coming with this specific kind of treatment, do you think we have erased that kind of culture that this is not a white man thing? We have to accept it. We also have plastic surgeons coming into, you know, their specific body parts. People love to have implants, you know, can take us.
Yeah, I think the world is changing in that in terms of hair, it is a very, very important aspect because it leads to low self-esteem. You understand? You used to have hair, you just want it back. You understand? If you didn't have something, you've lost it. So you just want to have it back. And African hair, in terms of people traveling and going outside there, it is like, for example, we don't have malaria in the UK, right? We don't have malaria in the US. There are some African conditions that also are in Africa, that are only in Africa, that need to be treated in Africa. So we have mastered the skill of African hair. That's why you do a lot of training you see in South Africa, in Mauritius, or in Belgium, so that we bring everybody together to understand this African hair. Because African hair, it is different with other kinds of hair. And where do you find majority of African people? They're in Africa. So if you do more of this transplant, it's a skill. So the more you do it in the African people, the more you understand this skill. But if you see only one transplant for African person once a month, then you understand, you not get, it's a repetition of doing and doing and doing until you master the skill.
Right, and this process, hair transplant,
yes.
How long does it take?
So hair transplant in an African, tailored to African people, they transplant maximum 8 hours during the procedure. During this procedure, because of also the survival rate. Our cells tend to die very, very fast. And these are things that are unique in our African people. Other kinds of hair, you may put the follicle cells as long as probably 12 hours, but our hair are being limited to the survival rate that you put them. After taking the follicles out, the number that hours they're supposed to be out, 8 hours maximum. So we cannot take, like, let's say 4,000 grafts in one sitting. No. We have to take 2,000 grafts, and that has to be done in 3 hours, and also planting it up to be done in 3 hours.
Some of our viewers will be asking, what is the meaning of a graft?
In a layman's language. It's the hair follicle, the root. You understand? Because this is a dead tissue. So we take the follicle cell, then you plant it, then it grows. It's like you're having a seed from a seedling. You cannot plant a stem. So this is like a stem and a leaf. But you have to remove the follicle cell, which is the root. So you take the follicle cell, is what you plant here so that it grows to become this hair.
Right. Why can't we take hair from other body parts? Must it be from the donor areas? I understand that it's called.
Yeah, it's the safest part, the back of your scalp. Why is it? Because this part is not genetically predisposed. And let's say what you've called is body harvesting. Yeah. So the hair at the armpits, they may have a different texture, and removing it here and putting it here, you see that texture will not match.
Right.
So this is the safest donor area if you are planting on the scalp. But then you can do other body harvesting to put on the beards, also on the eyebrow as well. You understand? But for the scalp, we always recommend remove hair here from the back because it's safe. People lose hair through genetic, like I've talked about the androgenic aspect. So you see, if you remove hair from any other, this is the safest part to remove hair, and then you put it here because it's not genetically predisposed as well.
Is it under a local anesthesia?
Yes, hair transplant, we do it under local anesthesia, but we use both short-acting and long-acting anesthesia. What do I mean by this? Long-acting will cater for after transplant, now when you go back home, because it's the one-day procedure and you go back home. We use numbing, we use very, very small needles to numb the area. From that, then short-acting is quick, numb immediately, and then long-acting will take you for like 2 days. You just feel numb. There should be no pain after hair transplant. But Mike, you know that we do also test prior before doing hair transplant.
What is the essence of testing prior? And should you get someone having a condition, will he be or she stopped immediately from taking the medication?
We have to do tests. Nobody will walk into our clinic and say, you want to do transplant now. We have to do tests 1 week prior to the transplant date. What are we checking? It's a medical procedure. So we have to check bleeding time, the clotting factors, hepatitis, HIV, all these things we have to check so that if you have any blood pressure, any medical history, that may hinder us from having results with the hair transplant. So it starts by the diagnosis, it goes to the testing, then from there, not everybody also goes through hair transplant. There are some conditions in African people that is also very, very important because you may end up doing a transplant on a patient that you are not supposed to do hair transplant on. So it starts by the diagnosis. And these are the conditions are only in African people. And they cause a scarring alopecia. What I mean by scarring is it leads to total destruction of the hair follicles. Permanent, you understand? So it's like plastering the scalp. So whether you transplant in these conditions, the hair may not. And these conditions are mostly in African people. So if you go to Turkey, they'll transplant because they don't really understand this kind of a condition. So it starts by making the right diagnosis so that the transplant becomes successful.
Right, and I saw a trend back then. Was it the plasma blood injection? They derive derived blood from your veins and they inject it directly to a hair follicle.
These are, it's called PRP, platelet-rich plasma.
Yes.
And PRP, very important to ask this question. PRP is not meant for like hair growth and all that. PRP is like a fertilizer for the hair. So at what point will you use, let's say I want to take you to a piece of land somewhere.
Yeah.
You've not planted any seeds. You have no seeds. Whatever kind of fertilizer you're going to put into that piece of land, what will grow if you have no seeds? You have not planted anything. So you see, PRP, these are stimulators, yeah, for the hair. So you must have planted a seed, or you have a seed you want to put fertilizer on, and then it gives you the result. You understand? So the same thing with hair loss. So PRP, minoxidil, supplements, they are all fertilizer. So you have to be really sure that you have the root down there.
From your experience, do you advocate for this kind of results?
The PRP, it works, but you must be a candidate also for that PRP. So going through a PRP and you are not supposed, like the hair will not grow with the PRP. What was the essence of doing it? So it starts by the diagnosis. Do you really need that PRP, or you need to go straight to hair transplant? You understand? Or do you really need, or you don't need PRP, you need medication. So it depends with individuals. Not everybody goes for PRP. And not everybody goes for transplant. And not everybody goes for minoxidil. So it has to be tailored towards individual, because some people will react with the minoxidil. You understand? So it depends. Each and every patient required to be done. Do you make a right diagnosis? Then you manage accordingly.
Is hair transplant a permanent procedure?
Yes.
Does it work effectively after 10 years, 20 years, or I'll be going back for a shot of some kind of medication after my first harvesting and the donor and the... Yes.
I understand. So hair transplant should be a permanent solution. But then again, it starts by making the right diagnosis, as I was said. So for you to achieve a successful hair transplant, you must have lost hair remaining with 30% and below. I want to take you to a piece of forest. You have forest somewhere, and you still have trees, and you want to plant new trees besides the tall. What will happen? They will not grow, because the tall trees will kill the small, because of the insufficiency of what they'll be struggling for those nutrients in the land. So the same thing. You must have lost hair remaining with 30% and below for you to achieve a successful hair transplant. Then they will not need subsequent transplant. Let's say you've just lost 50, and then you go and put the 50. The 50 will go. Then again, you'll still be back.
At Afrodoc, is it becoming the Turkey, quote unquote, of the region? Because barely you will hear 5 or 10 doctors, like the dentistry industry, though it's thriving. We've barely heard of trichology centers. This is one of a kind. So do you think at Afrodoc you're going to morph into the Turkey of the East African region or the world?
Everything is possible, Stephen. And we are tailoring this thing towards African people. So that's why it's called Afrodoc. It's much more to the African people. Because we want to tell our people that you don't have to go to Turkey. You don't have to go to the US. You don't have to go. It is us now. And we understand your hair best. We train doctors from the US, the UK. They're all coming to Africa to understand the African hair. So then why would we, our own patients, go to Turkey? And for you to get a good hair transplant, you've watched YouTube, you see how black people, they complain about their hair transplant.
Yes.
Boards and all that, over harvesting. We are giving people the best of results here at home. So why then do you have to travel to go to Turkey. So at AfroDoc, we are centered towards an African textured hair. And that's what we do Monday to Saturday.
Is there a maximum age limit for hair transplant procedure for the patients or candidates?
Yes, of course. Let's say you are 17, you have lost hair through either a burn, that will be able to do transplant because it's giving, you know, you had hair, you have an accident. So these are, you can do as probably 16, 17, but then again, with male pattern, female pattern, or other kind of hair loss that you may need to do transplant, that we advocate for at least from 25 to around 69. Even some people 75 will still want to come because hair loss is a very, it causes a very low self-esteem.
Right.
Because you used to have hair, you just want it back. So age limits also, it's a bit of a, because you can be 18 and you've lost your node, you've lost all the hair genetically, you understand? So you cannot tell this patient to wait until they are 30 for them to do hair transplant, so long as they can consent for it and they are 18 and above. So it depends also, what age are you putting for this hair transplant?
What is the aftercare once someone has been, has undergone the procedure? Are there specific kind of shampoos or you shouldn't shave your hair up to some time? There are some drinks you shouldn't be taking, right?
Of course, hair, like we say, after every month you'll be coming for the PRP, like putting fertilizer.
Right.
You understand, you planted a seed, so you have to manage it also accordingly. We'll give you some medication to take after the procedure. And these things are antibiotic, painkillers, some steroids to control inflammation and swelling and all that. And then also, just to take care of that hair, no, of course you cannot just, after hair transplant, you go wash. No, we wash after 6 days. Why? Because African hair, our hair curls. So sometimes it's 5 degrees to the skin, 2 degrees to the skin, like the temples. So 10 degrees to the skin. So when you wash it the next day, it may get washed away. So we really have to take care of this hair immediately after transplant so that we have the result.
Are there specific creams like the embalming, is it the embalming? You know better, you're the doctor.
Yeah. There are creams that we may use to just protect your donor area as well, and also to apply after hair transplant. Like we use minoxidil. It depends which what made you lost this hair. You understand? So we put you on some medication also. If you had inflammation of the scalp before, we put you on some medication to control the inflammation of the scalp after the transplant as well. You understand?
What is your message to the candidates? Maybe there are people who they have this apprehension that once they undergo this procedure, they may lose their donor areas. Maybe they have this, they're quite fearful that it won't grow back. What kind of assurance will you give them?
Trust me, if you look now, in the world of now, you go to the internet, there's something called over-harvesting.
Right.
And you look at, on our socials, we always talk about no over-harvesting because that is the most challenging African people. People get over-harvested. It's like trying to solve one problem but creating another one. So at AfroDoc, we've gone at a higher level. We have some technological devices that we use, plus art combined. So we mark the donor area. If you see, we always talk about mapping the donor area. It is very important so that you calculate the number of hair you have per square centimeter. Let's say you have 100. You cannot take all those 100.
Is it like a scanner or it's an external machine?
It's called a dermoscope.
Okay.
So it will actually scan the hair also, which are also in the growth phase. It's a very interesting. So we encapsulate technology as well. So that area, you put it, and then it will count the number of hairs per square centimeter. So you go there and say, okay, I have 100. I can only take 15. You understand? If the moment you take, you have 100, you are taking around 75, you're leaving that area without hair. So that is what will cause over-harvesting. So over-harvesting will protect your donor area. Love your donor area by only taking the right number of grafts that you need. And also, when the scale is right, then you don't end up over-harvesting.
This procedure is quite expensive. Does it oscillate from thousands of dollars, or what's the ballpark figure?
It basically depends on the area to be covered. Like
averagely.
Average, we may talk of because everybody seems to be losing hair, and at AfroDoc we are centered toward African people. Whether you are rich, whether you are poor, people lose hair, and our prices are prices where somebody can save. You understand? So we talk of from 100,000 to 200,000 to 250,000. So around that figure, Kenya shillings though. It is for the African people and for the Kenyan community as well, depending with the economy. Yes.
Right. That's Daktari telling us more about hair transplant at AfriDoc Hair Transplant. We'll keep more details at the social media handles. And moving to the international stories, at least 31 people were killed and more than 170 wounded early Sunday as large crowds gathered for food aid at Rafah. Health officials said witnesses claimed Israeli forces fired on civilians near an aid site. However, the Israeli military denied targeting civilians, saying troops fired warning shots at suspects approaching them overnight. The military also shared drone footage from Khan showing armed men allegedly shooting near aid seekers. Israeli military chief Lieutenant General Eyal Zamir said ordered the opening of more aid sites and expanded ground operations in Gaza as tensions continue to rise.
Look, the situation is intolerable in Gaza and getting worse by the day, which is why we are working with allies to be clear in saying it's intolerable, to be absolutely clear that there needs to be a ceasefire, to be absolutely clear that humanitarian aid needs to get in at speed and at volumes that it is not getting in at the moment. It's causing absolute devastation. And of course, to continue our work to secure the release of hostages who've been held for a very, very long time. We're working closely with allies on that and we'll continue to do so.
Moving on swiftly, Mount Etna, Europe's most active volcano, erupted on the 2nd of June, sending large ash flames into the sky and causing panic among tourists. Dramatic videos showing visitors fleeing down the mountainside as thick smoke and ash filled the air. The eruption covered the Sicilian sky with dark ash, forcing people near the famous landmark to scramble for safety. So far, there have been no reports of danger to local residents. Volcanic tremors began around 10 p.m. local time and grew stronger, reaching a peak just before 1 a.m. According to the Volcanic Discovery website, the Volcanic Ash Advisory Center reported that the ash plume rose about 6,400 meters into the atmosphere. Mount Etna is the world's most active stratovolcano, a classic cone-shaped volcano built up over thousands of years by repeated eruption. Officials continue to monitor the volcano closely and have urged the public to stay cautious as the volcanic activities continue. Ukrainian President Zelensky has announced that Ukraine and Russia have agreed to release more prisoners of war and exchange the bodies of 6,000 fallen soldiers. He made the statement during a speech at NATO summit, highlighting this is a rare point of progress between the two countries. Now, more into the story. The announcement comes after a second round of direct talks between Russian and Ukrainian delegations in Istanbul on Monday. The meeting, which lasted over an hour, failed to achieve any major breakthrough apart from the prisoner and body exchange agreement. Zelensky also warned if Russia refuses to act on even these basic humanitarian issues, stronger international sanctions will be enforced. He called for urgent action from the European Union through its 18 sanctions package, as well as further steps from the United States. On one key sticking point remains, Russia once again rejected Ukraine's demand for unconditional ceasefire. Meanwhile, Turkish president has expressed his intention to help arrange a direct meeting with Zelensky. Here's more on the story.
delegation is now in Istanbul, and we are ready to take the necessary steps for peace. Naturally, the starting point should be a ceasefire and humanitarian actions, the release of prisoners and the return of abducted children. And all key issues can be resolved at the level of leaders. And if Russia undermines even this initial agenda, and if the Istanbul meeting brings nothing, that clearly means strong new sanctions are urgently needed from the EU's 18th package and from the United States.
Well, it is time for your favorite segment of the show, the Sports News. Let's get sporty. The 2025 Absa Kipkeino Classic Continental Tour, a premier one-day athletics championships, made its return for the 6th edition this year and was held on the 31st of May 2025 at the Ulinzi Sports Complex in Lang'ata in Nairobi. As part of the World Athletics Continental Tour Gold Series, the event attracted top-tier athletes from Africa and around the globe to compete at the highest level. Absa Bank Kenya reaffirmed its commitment towards advancing sports and athletics in the country, unveiling a total investment of 60 million shillings into the 2025 athletics calendar, which includes title sponsorship of this year's Absa Kipkeino Classic. GBS TV sports journalist John Kinyanjui has more on the story.
This year's edition of the Absa Kipkeino Classic concluded successfully at the Ulinzi Sports Complex in Lang'ata in Nairobi. The organizers prepared Ulinzi Sports Ground to host a World Athletics Continental Tour Gold Series, and fans packed to the brim. Kenya's sensation and African champion Lilian Odira and Sarah Moraa had an exceptional performance in the women's 800 meters race. Running her first outdoor event, Lilian Odira beat Botswana Oraten Nua, who came in second, while Africa's 800 meters champion Sarah Moraa finished third, all of them qualifying for the World Athletics Championship 800 meters women race. 2022 Africa 400 meters hurdles bronze medalist Wiseman Were emerged victorious and saw him bag a qualification standard time for the 2025 World Athletics Championship set for September 13th to 21st in Tokyo, Japan. Africa's fastest man, Ferdinand Omanyala, settled for a third place in the men's 100 meters race, as the race was won by World Indoors 60 meters silver medalist Australia's Kennedy Lachan, clocked a personal best, while South Africa's Bayanda Walaza finished second. The action-packed event has quickly earned a reputation for being a world-class competition. Athletes competed for prize money and world ranking points, with many eyeing the prestigious gold-level status to boost their international profiles. The tour has quickly gained recognition for its strong international field, drawing athletes from across the world to Kenya, a country renowned for its long-distance running prowess. Reporting for GBS TV Sports, I am John Kinyanjui.
History was made on the African football stage as Egypt's Pyramids FC clinched their first ever CAF Champions League title in dramatic fashion, defeating South Africa's Mamelodi Sundowns 2-1 in a thrilling second leg of the final. With the two sides having drawn 1-1 in the first leg in Pretoria, Pyramids FC edged the tie 3-2 on the aggregate, sealing a victory that sent their fans into wild celebrations. Star striker Fiston Mayele opened the scoring in the 23rd minute, marking his 9th goal of the tournament and proving vital in the team's triumph. The win not only crowns Pyramid FC as continental champions for the first time, but also places them among Egyptian football royalty, joining Al Zamalek and Ismaili as the only Egyptian clubs to win Africa's top club competition. It was a night of glory and Egypt and heartbreak for the Sundowns, but both sets of fans are already looking ahead to future battles on the continent.
It's football. It happens. We lost and we move on. Next Champions League, we compete again.
We lose fair. It was a fair game. Thank you.
The whole organization has been doing well for 4 years. They are a strong team and they deserve to win the championship.
Well, we have come to the end of the news bulletin. It is always a pleasure having you on the board. Let's do this next time. Same channel, we make your news our business. My name is Stephen George, and our sign language interpreter tonight has been Paul Madenge. Good night.
Everywhere, GBS.